In 1978, my brothers and I moved to a new city. We moved from a little village to a big city in Alberta. And at some point, we got into a fight with a student, a few teachers, and a police officer. As a result of this melee, for lack of a better word, my older brother was not allowed to go to any high school in Alberta for a year. My younger brother was asked to change high schools, and me, I was given a 2-week suspension. While I was in the vice principal's office getting my 2-week suspension, he said to me I should see a psychiatrist. And I said, what do you think? I'm crazy? And he says, well, yes. Unfortunately, I never sought professional services, but I did become a scientist. Some scientists are a little crazy. Some go to the dark side, and others go on to produce wonderful things, but they're still a little crazy. Let's see how that turns out. The GERA Foundation presents this series called Navigating Research. Some of you might be wondering where I ever came up with the idea of using this odd clip in these videos.
The Muppets franchise. Founder and chief scientist at Muppet Labs, Dr. Honeydew is your typical absent-minded mad scientist type, constantly putting his meaty assistant Beaker in harm's way. His inventions usually help his friends get out of tight spots, but they often only have temporary results.
Yeah, man, well, what else do these pills make big?
Oh, they work on anything, but the effect is sadly temporary.
During his hiatus from the Muppets, he took his sciencing skills to CERN, but how he works without eyeballs, we still can't figure out.
Now, the point is, let's imagine that we had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. He's not having any of this shit. He's locked in to, because he's not really a physicist and at a practicing level, he has to worry about his respectability. He is 100% one of the most brilliant people at scientific exposition I've ever seen in my life. But he can't think. He's not ready to do great science because great science has an element of irresponsibility to it. And what we don't understand, I think, about it is that when we decide that everybody has to do good science, it's like you doom yourself. Many of the greatest scientists of all time were borderline quacks.
Full disclosure, I met this character, Neil, at a conference in Cape Town, I believe in 1993 or 1994, certainly before the 94 election where Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. I can only say I met him, we spoke briefly, he and his wife were traveling around the country and they wanted to know if it was relatively safe for them to do so, and my friend and I were telling him, yeah, it's perfectly fine, you'll be okay, don't worry. And that was the end of the story. I doubt he would ever remember me. I only know him because he became so famous and I saw his picture everywhere. Other than that, I don't know the man for a bar, so he's definitely not crazy. Yes, some scientists truly are crazy and evil. Well, evil's the wrong word. Unethical, certainly. This is Robert E. Cornish. He raised dogs from the dead. They stopped him from trying it on humans. Some scientists may not be crazy, but they certainly are odd. Pythagoras, no doubt, was a keen mathematical genius. However, the man also started and was the head of a cult. His students, in order to become a member of it, had to remain silent for 5 years. The man, it is purported, had a fear of beans, or he certainly hated beans. He wouldn't eat them. And the story goes that at the end of his life, he was being chased by an angry mob. He refused to hide in a bean field. They caught him and killed him. No idea if that's true. Score 1 for the mighty bean. In my youth, I was quite aggressive. And I would be pretty harsh on people. I used to refer to it as strong arm astronomy. And I would argue very vigorously, cursing, swearing, the lot. And I called people many times brain dead. I just want to show you what brain dead looks like. This is brain dead. This is the normal conscious mind. This is in cardiac arrest. This is brain dead. I have no idea what a crazy mind looks like. Maybe if I did my CAT scan, they would see that. But this is what I'm referring to if I called you brain dead. If you were to do a Google search for mad scientist, One of the first faces you will see, one of the first people that will pop up is this character here, Nikola Tesla, the Wizard of the West, probably one of the brightest minds to come out of the 19th century. Now, I can understand why people think he's a mad scientist. Look at that haircut. I mean, really, you can't look cool like that. You got to be bald. We all know. Come on. Some people can really pull off being bald. Sinead O'Connor is one, but this is the original Telly Savalas. One thing we have to recognize is just because you're a mad scientist does not mean you're going to produce terrible things. You're going to be amoral, unethical, evil. No, you can produce good things. This is that character. Though the man died destitute and poor, he still was a brilliant mind.
History's greatest geniuses. The Serbian god of lightning was a madman. He spoke 8 languages, memorized entire books at a time, and completed advanced physics equations in his head. Real-life TI-83 was a once-in-a-generation mathlete. He invented FM radio, remote controls, robots, spark plugs, and fluorescence, birthing the despicable lighting in all cafeterias. In 2007, students were hyped when they transmitted energy 7 feet through the air. But Tesla lit 200 light bulbs from a source 26 miles away, with a machine he built from spare parts in the middle of a mountain in 1899. Step your shit up, MIT. He claimed to receive visions in the night, communicated with Mars through electromagnetic signals, and spoke to pigeons. If Hedwig is DHL, the rats of the skies are UPS, elite service. He slept only 2 to 3 hours a night and remained celibate his entire life. Looks like a lack of cheeks is the key to unlocking genius.
So you might be a little crazy. You might be a little odd, a little eccentric, but good things can come from that. Certainly from this genius here, great things were inherited by the world. He left the world with nothing, but he left the world with everything. Crazy isn't always bad. He did fall in love with a pigeon, though. You're probably wondering why I'm showing a picture of the Danish astronomer Tycho Brahe. This guy was an astronomer before the telescope was invented, so he did everything by the naked eye. The reason I'm showing this image is because when he was 20, him and his cousin were very drunk in a bar and got into an argument over who was the better mathematician. So to resolve the issue, they drew swords and had a duel. Subsequently, Tycho lost his nose and had to wear a prosthetic the rest of his life. And I just thought, there's got to be something in there that's a little crazy. Anyways, Tycho is well known for creating very exact pieces of equipment and taking very precise observations, as I said, before the telescope. Those observations he basically handed over to his last assistant before he died in 1601, and that was no other than Johannes Kepler, who then wrote his 3 laws of planetary motion based on Tycho's observation. No, Tycho probably wasn't crazy, but I got to tell you, he was certainly probably very eccentric, and people around him must have thought he was a little. This is a picture of Johannes Kepler, and these are his 3 laws of planetary motion. They were derived from the accurate measurements made by Tycho Brahe, the man who lost his nose in a duel. My final word on the mad scientist or being a little crazy or just being a little crazy. I personally believe you have to be at the edge. You have to always be at the edge, maybe going a little over the edge and then coming back to be a really good scientist. I really believe that. I don't think that you can find the knowledge gaps without being a little crazy. You don't have to be nuts, but you have to be out there. You got to be pushing the boundaries, and sometimes you're going to step over and you're going to be seen as a little crazy. Now, I wouldn't suggest you look like this character here, or me for that matter, but this character definitely. You look like this guy, you're not going to get a lot of credibility around other scientists. But what makes us a scientist? Is it because of our degrees? No, it's not. What makes us a scientist is we've thought about something, a problem, we've come up with a hypothesis, we develop an experiment, we get our results, we analyze them, and most importantly, we tell somebody else about them. And whoever you are, if you do those things and impart that knowledge to someone else, you are a scientist too. Even if you look like this dude, this would be at the edge, to be honest. So My little bit of advice is, don't look like this dude if you want to be taken seriously. But that is science, and so you can be a little crazy and still be a scientist. Public service announcement. Please don't do a Vincent van Gogh and cut off your ear or something silly like that. If you want to be a little crazy, go out and have some fun. Get in an argument with your cousin. Don't get in a duel. This is me in 1988 after I had my hair cut. Full disclosure, I miss my hair. The GERA Foundation will produce more videos like this. Please like, share, or subscribe if you enjoyed this video.